Hi, everyone, and welcome to the London Community Week podcast, the show where we spotlight the brilliant minds shaping the future of community building across the UK and beyond. I'm your host, as usual, Kate Bova. And if you are part of a startup, a nonprofit, or global SaaS company, and you are driven by connection, real impact, and community first thinking, this space for you. Quick thanks to Led by Community for making the podcast and the whole London Community Week possible. Today with us, guys, is a special guest. Adrian Singer is a senior community strategist with 14 years of experience building and scaling high impact online and also offline communities. At Waze, at Google, Adrian founded and led more than 50 regional communities of map editors across Latin America, Europe, and East Asia, mobilizing thousands of contributors to perform millions of map edits worldwide. You can imagine. His expertise lies in designing and growing complex communities that require high effort contributors and long-term commitment, particularly within community-led products in the mobility industry. Also, Adrian has hosted over 100 events around the globe and helped scale communities from the ground up to thousands of daily active members. And now, based in London with his wife and two young kids, Adrian is adjusting to the British weather, one cup of tea at a time. Adrian, welcome. Happy to see you here.
Hi, Kate. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start with you. Tell us more about your role now and what communities are you currently involved with.
Yes. So since 2009, as you mentioned, I have covered several roles at Waze. I founded the LATAM communities of map editors, localizers, and partners. And later on, I strategized on European and Asian communities. I was also a team manager and responsible for the global communities of Waze Carpool. And last year, as you mentioned, my wife and I decided to relocate from Tel Aviv to London. So we quit our jobs to fully dedicate ourselves to the job of relocating the family. So I'm currently involved, I could say, as a regular community member of the Waze British map editors, not as a staff member, but as a regular editor. And of course, I am part of the Led by Community, of course.
As well. Cool. Adrian, how did you get started in community building? It was something that you planned, something that you wanted to be, or did happen by chance?
It was completely accidental. When Waze sought me out, they needed a native Spanish and Portuguese speaker to do marketing. Basically a marketing specialist to open up the Latin American market. It was the early days of Waze, and launching in LATAM was a strategic move that followed, at that time, Google Maps' announcement that they would start operating in the US for free. So the leadership of Waze decided to focus on LATAM first. So I started building the community. In those early days, it looked like building the first audience using the main social media platform, Facebook, and then called Twitter. And the focus was encouraging adoption of the product, of the recently launched product, usage, and brand awareness. But it wasn't just a regular, social media management job, because I actively interacted with our followers, and we sort of started creating a sort of a proto-community, I would say. And next door to my office sat the support team, who manually responded to emails with all sorts of inquiries. One of them was about editing the map, because one of Waze's big revolutions was to allow the people to create and edit their own map, the Waze map. So the same people started to come back with more and more inquiries. And at some point, the support team already knew, they felt that they knew personally these people. So then they started together. We started to understand that something was bubbling up, something that looks like a community. So that's how the community team, as a separate entity, was born at Waze. And very, very quickly, because of the nature of my work as a marketing specialist for the Spanish and Portuguese speaking market, I was invited to join the community team. And so I joined, and I became officially the first community manager for the Latin American market, and the rest is history.
That's a huge and super great story, and you have really so a big background in community building, in marketing. What actually motivates you to continue doing your work every day? Yeah, what
So
motivates you?
I think that right now we are entering a new era where communities and AI will interact in one way or another. And I love to interact with really engaged people and to feel the power of the community. You know, the Waze community is very strong
Yeah,
and very engaged.
yeah.
So in an AI first world, I believe that people and brands will seek even more human connection. And I think that as community managers, we stand on a privileged spot where we can facilitate that connection. And so having the opportunity to be a protagonist and to be a shaper of this transition to this new world is fascinating to me. This is mostly
Wow.
what motivates me right now.
Yeah. A lot of your heart here, a lot of passion. Actually, Adrian, London Community Week is coming up soon. Could you please share with us your topic? What will you be speaking about, and why do you think actually it's important or valuable topic right now?
So I have proposed several topics, and I'm still in the waiting of the decision of the of the organizers for the selected topic. But I can mention a
It's a
couple.
small secret for our audience. Yeah, just come to London and you will hear.
Yeah, so I can tell you about a couple of them. For
Yeah, sure.
example, one of them I called it the living map: how to balance hands-on community contributions with product integrity. Imagine thousands of people editing a map in real time. The potential of chaos is high, very high. So there is an inherent tension between empowering a distributed community of map editors and maintaining product quality. So what I want to present is based on the Waze case with all of 14 years of experience, learn how to or help the community managers how to balance hyper-local knowledge from the community
Yeah.
with global consistency and prevent misuse by errant users that sometimes are part of the community or sometimes they come and go. So that's a challenge, and I will teach or explain how to find that balance. Another topic that may be selected, maybe not, but I'll be happy to talk with anyone who wants to talk with me about it, is how to mature a leadership in your, how to transition the leadership in your mature community. Sometimes communities that are mature, this is the case of Waze, they need their renovation of their leadership, right? The champions, the ambassadors. Life continues. People get bored. People get busy. People need to change for this reason or the other. So how to do it in a dignified way? How to do it in a respectful way? How to do it in a way that doesn't hurt the community and the community continues thriving despite the fact that you are in a kind of reorg within the community. So this is another topic that I have proposed. Maybe we'll talk it during the community week.
Yeah, sounds like a timely topic, first one and second one. Maybe you can briefly share with us key insights or key takeaways you hope that the audience will leave with after your talk. We can briefly talk about first topic and also about second topic.
About the first topic, I would say maybe I have given this talk, and people is fascinated about the permission systems that allows ways to have an engaged community who directly shape the product. Right, the map of ways is copyright of ways, but is done by the community.
Yeah.
So you are giving a lot, like Waze, the company is giving a lot of power to its users. So I am expecting to get questions of how you manage to give so much power and so much trust in your users while preserving the security and the safety and the quality of your product. And I will tell you how it can be done.
Yeah, it's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. And if you want to hear about the second topic, about how to transition the leadership, maybe a question, an interesting question that the audience can ask me is about an example. Maybe I can provide a concrete example and a step-by-step how you build a process that you can repeat and you can adapt to each community in order to do it the more respectful way, so that it doesn't injure the community.
Adrian, maybe we can share also here with our podcast guest, like some takeaways from these topics, like some advices, like one top or three top advices in first and in second topic for our community managers, future community managers, community marketers. I think it will be really useful for the audience of the podcast.
So I would say the main one is it's hard, but it's doable. It's hard to trust your product to a community of users and keep the safety of the product. But if you are smart enough, if you are sophisticated enough, you can do it. And in the second case, the same. It's hard to make a transition of leadership. It's hard to see people go, and it's hard to let people go. And we all know as community managers that emotions are very central to the community. Sometimes there's internal conflict, sometimes there's other kind of emotions involved. So it's important for you to be emotionally involved and to know that you can do this. That it's in the comfort zone of all of us to keep working with the same leadership over time. But sometimes it's a trap. So you can do this. It demands from you to get out of your comfort zone, but at the end, you can do it, and it will be beneficial to your community if it's necessary, of course.
Yeah. What about the second topic?
That was the second topic.
I thought it was about.
Yeah.
Okay. Also in these topics, and actually in your community, do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, super. So about business goals, because you are working a lot with business, you are working a lot with customers, everything is connected. You are like community-led growth. You have like community-led growth strategy in ways, especially. So how we can connect, how we can measure community and community goals with business goals, how we can measure impact, how we can measure impact of our community to our business goals, to our business growth, actually. Maybe you can share also some advices or your experience.
Of course. By measuring the impact of the community on whatever the business wants to achieve. In the case of Waze, for example, one of the main goals is to maintain a fresh, high-quality map. So it's natural that the number of map edits are used to measure the community's impact on the business. But I think that in order to prove the real value of a community for a business, you need to seek a pool of areas where it can make an impact, not just one. If you go deeper and deeper on the one obvious area of the impact, in this case, it would be map edit, you'll eventually reach a glass roof. It's like squeezing a lemon, right? At some point, there will be no more juice to squeeze out. So instead, if you look to the sides, if you ask other departments in the company what their needs are, what they think the community can contribute with, you might be able to engage the community in additional areas of impact. So you'll be able to squeeze new, fresh lemons with lots of juice to give. To give you an example of the case of waste, this strategy, we implemented that strategy, and it was so successful that it also created entire sub-communities, localizers, people who translated the app, beta testers, partners, crisis managers. Each one of them made an impact on their relevant areas, and the impact was measured contextually. How many languages were translated by the community, how many bugs were reported by the community and fixed, how many partner traffic feeds were plugged into Waze's traffic data, etc. So to summarize, try to look at a pool, at a set of areas where the community can make an impact on the business, not only the one obvious area.
Okay, Adrian. What about failures and some happiest and proudest moments of your job? Maybe you remember some big failure that taught you something impactful, and also like big win that you are so proud of in your job.
Yeah, regarding failures, basically it's not integrating the community in the early steps of the decision making. At Waze, I learned the hard way to transition from managing an engaged audience to managing an engaged community. I learned to co-design, to co-develop everything with the community, products, features, PR campaigns, everything. But before I learned that, the communication style of my team was mainly, in the early days, hey guys, we decided to release this feature. Please provide your feedback. Thank you. And as you can imagine, this created not few crises, because when you develop a feature without integrating the users in the early steps, for example, a product manager is mostly guessing user behavior based on data, and they cannot anticipate any additional use cases at the long tail. So I noticed this issue and I started communicating much earlier, and the community's happiness increased exponentially. And this involves not only wisdom and judgment, but also, and maybe more importantly, being an advocate of the community within the organization. Being able to embed the community voice within the sprints is a part of the community manager's work that sometimes it can be invisible or less shiny, but it's so crucial. And when done correctly, it pays off big time. So what we did at Waze was inserting the community managers in the squads that develop the features, and being able to have eyes and ears in the decision process avoided many mistakes and boosted the value provided by and to the community. And my proudest moment so far, or a win, I would say that basically raising up the Brazilian community from scratch to become the third biggest global Waze community after the US and France. At the early days, at the early days of Waze, I proactively reached out to early adopters and identified users who had the profile to become future leaders. I engaged with them and listened actively, and they had great ideas. They corrected my Portuguese. I was translating the app myself, and they corrected. And they explained me so many things about mobility in Brazil. So we created a trust relationship that lasts even to this day, when I'm not working at Waze anymore. And the more they edited the map under my guidance, the more the user base grew, and the more the community grew. Soon after, I organized the first Latin American meetup in Rio from Tel Aviv, from people from Mexico to Argentina, from Peru to Brazil, people from all of Latin America. And only years later, when Waze hired two event organizers who, by themselves, they employed a whole production company to organize this kind of meetups. I realized how kind of, pardon the term, but how heroic that the heroic dimensions of organizing that first meetup more than 10 years ago. So needless to say that first meetup made a big impact, and the community hasn't stopped growing since then. And as I said, it grew so much that the Brazilian community is one of the top 3 ways communities worldwide.
Wow.
I'm very proud of it.
That sounds so meaningful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. What about trends or a big shift in the world that you are paying close attention to? It could be something in a community sphere or something actually global that has real impact to community world, community job for community managers.
I think that communities are becoming more and more niches. As digital interactions, they become more mature and social media becomes mainstream. People are seeking true connection in smaller communities that can satisfy their need for deep shared interests or needs. And the same is true for brands. Brands are trying to optimize their efforts by utilizing the strong segmentation tools of the digital era. So I think that in addition to the strong impact of AI, which I mentioned already, this is another shift that is shaping the communities of the future. They're becoming smaller, more niche, and more concrete.
100% agree. I see also a lot, it's in Ukrainian clients, in worldwide clients, and brands do a lot of things like doing something more specific, more special, more personalized, and it's also about niching something. So 100% agree. 100% agree. Maybe some tools, some methods, some practices, Canva, something that you love to use in your job and you recommend to use also in other community managers.
I will say a practice. And this practice is very basic. Listen. But listen actively, empathetically, and try to co-design with your community. That's the main difference between an audience and a community. We can discuss infinitely about tools, about methods, but at the end of the day, managing a community is the art of listening to human beings and helping them achieve what they want to achieve. You don't need to agree with them. You don't always need to do what they ask you to do, but you need to be aware and you need to build a relationship based on trust where both sides win. That's for me the most basic practice I would recommend.
That's a brilliant practice. Sometimes it's hard when you are a community manager and you want to do everything the best for your community, but sometimes people just don't need that and you need to do something another. What advice actually you can give someone who are just starting their way in community today? Because actually in the conference, during the conference and here on podcast, we have a lot of guys who are like just started their community story. What advices you can give them?
That's exciting. Hearing that many people are starting their journey, it's really exciting and really fills my heart. I would say try only work on communities that are purposeful and align with your values and your goals. This is, as I said in my previous answer, this is a very human job and emotions are very central to it. If it's just a mechanical job for you, you'll probably get bored or annoyed very quickly. So instead, try to be picky if you can, and find the areas that move you as a person. Ideally, communities where you'd be a member yourself. Today, I'm a member myself of the Waze community. So in a way, this is not very different from any other job, right? The higher your intrinsic motivation, the more enjoyable it will be, and probably the more productive and successful you'll become. I know that there are a lot of temptations along the way, but
Mm-hmm.
my advice would be, if you can, try to avoid them and try to focus on your specific motivations. Basically, pursue your dream.
Mm. Nice, nice. Um, if you had to describe the future of community building sphere, community management sphere in 3 words or in one sentence, what it would be?
Connect AI powered humans.
Okay. Okay, it's powerful. Actually, Adrian, I think that's it. I really appreciate your time, your so deep and wise advices, your background, because I know how it's so hard to build customer communities, but when you do that, but when you have the system, when you hear the people, when you do a lot of tests, you can build that. And I actually also used a lot of time Waze and was a part of Waze community. So, and it's amazing. It's really amazing, especially when I'm abroad or somewhere. It's the best app. So thank you very much for your time. See you in London, and have a great, wonderful evening.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. See you in London.
See you guys.